Ten Commandments. About 1959. In them days, Tim, they sent school buses of children to the movie theater to watch the Ten Commandments. Boy, it's changed that.
That's right.
Y'all, any of y'all old as I am, remember that?
Still comes on every year.
Still comes on every year. We went to the rodeo theater in Hartsville and watched the Ten Commandments in the theater, boy. But, and it was a good movie, but still, that's sort of where we're at today. What that movie was on. It's in Exodus. Pharaoh persecutes Israel. I'm going to go ahead and ask you about a word before we even get started. Does anybody know what the word where's it at now? I don't even, boy, I hate to do that.
Bless you, Jesus.
Rigor. They served with rigor. We want to make our visitors welcome today. Come back again, you'll be family instead of visitors. We love you. Rigor, if you know what rigor means, anybody? Egyptians made the Israelites to serve with rigor. I googled it and it said there's 137 different definitions to it. I guess it's according to how it's used in the sentence or something. But it's something bad anyway, you can tell by this. But they made them serve with rigor, which was with punishment, with anybody?
Hard labor, I would take it as well.
Hard labor. And they beat them while they were doing the hard labor a lot of times, the way I understand it. They just mean to them. And they didn't care if they killed one of them because, you know, there's plenty more in them coming this way. Well, the lesson starts with Exodus 17. First chapter, 17th verse. But for the ones that have never read their Bible, I'm going to go back to the first verse. It won't take me but a few seconds to get there. Exodus 1:1. Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, remember? Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. Now the 75 people started out there. And how long did they stay in Egypt?
400 years.
400 years. And how many come out? 70 went in, how many come out? 2-3 million is estimated. And I'm going to tell you just no country boy trick here. You think, well, 70 people couldn't come into 3 or 4 million in that length of time. Did anybody ever tell you the thing about working for a penny a day and doubling it every day for 30 days? You heard it? Wayne's old enough to remember it.
Oh, yeah.
That way. You know what it comes out to be? If you work for a penny a day and double it every day, about $3 million. If I remember right. It's over $1 million, I know. You know, that's 30 days. Now they had 400 years. So, I just want to get that in there. And if you don't believe that, you start with your piece of paper and a pencil and say 1 cent, 2 cents, 4 cents, 8 cents, 16 cents, 32 cents, and do it 30 times, see what's
A
coming
lot
out.
of times the skeptics forget when God has a purpose, things change.
People move, yeah. And our job is to fit into His purpose, not get Him to fit into ours.
In the beginning, when God said be fruitful and multiply, He didn't only say it, He made it possible.
He made it, yep. So there's 70 people. Verse 7, and the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Now see, Joseph went on over and saved Egypt. Really, you might say he saved the lives of a lot of people in Egypt by being able to interpret Pharaoh's dreams. But now they forgot about Joseph. You've done a lot of people good in your lifetime, Adam, and already done forgot about you.
Not only that, too, you got jealousy.
Oh, that's a bad thing.
Because you're looking at an outsider being a head over a nation, and it wasn't.
They don't like it.
And so when he died, they quickly erased. You know, they say there's no evidence of Joseph a lot of times. They find things that's been erased. You can't find the evidence, but they find things that's been marked out, been erased, eradicated, all the things. Because this king that knew not Joseph, anything he heard about it, was quickly done away with.
And Moses too. But you see, a lot of history has been destroyed. But it's still amazing to me, even now, in Egypt, Israel, Turkey and all that, they're still finding things. In Israel in 1940s, they wanted to find the city of Jericho. And Lord, I'm getting off the subject, y'all forgive me. What happened over there, you had a city, and you had to have a city where there was water. You had to have water. In Jericho, there was springs. So they built a city. Well, maybe 40 years, 50, 100 years later, here come an army through it and just destroyed everybody and burned the city. Well, years after that, here come another band of people and said, hey, there's water here, let's build this town. They started with a house, and they built a city. Covered that other burnt place up with dirt, and they built a city on that. Well, it happened again and again and again, and now there's false hills over there they call it Tel. Have you ever heard of Tel Aviv? That's what it is. It's where they've destroyed cities and put dirt on top of it, built another city, put dirt. So now they're digging down through that dirt, finding the older history. And when you start up here, you find pottery that's polished and glassed and painted and everything. By the time you get to the bottom, you find pottery that ain't molded right and ain't polished. I got some of it.
There's a TV program, Eric Stackelbeck, and TVN, it's on YouTube channel too. Right now, they have a highway that used to be ground level that goes under the Dome of the Rock. They have a whole city block in there underneath the Dome of the Rock.
When you go over to Jerusalem up here, the western wall is downhill 30, 40 feet like, you know. But anyway, I wish everybody could go to Israel for 10 days. I really do. I really do. I really do. But there arose a king that didn't know Joseph. Jealousy, as Tim said, jealousy was the first sin. No. Cain killing Abel was the first. No. Eve taking of the fruit was the first sin. No. Hey, the first sin happened in heaven when Satan got jealous of God and said, I'll raise my throne above the throne of God. So jealousy is still alive today, and you have to control it in your own self. I do anyway, y'all may not. And he said to his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more than mighty than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Now that's what I want to bring out. Pharaoh was afraid of losing all this free slave labor. They didn't even buy the slaves, they just made them slaves. And before you get too far in slavery, every nationality of people, I don't care who you are, has been a slave at one time or another. Black, white, red, or green, it doesn't matter, every nationality. Most of the people in the South here is what we call Scotch-Irish. Somewhere around Scotland and Ireland. And they were brought over here as servant boys and servant girls and sold just like slavery. Google it if you don't believe me. Now, don't take my word for it. You check me out and see if I'm right. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built Pharaoh's treasure cities, Topham and Ramesses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were very grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel serve with rigor. And that's something bad, whatever it is. Just like I said, I guess it's how it's used in a sentence. One thing was rigorously. You know, thing you got to really get in there and get hard. But they treated them bad. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage and mortar and bricks and all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them to serve was with rigor. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shipporah, and the name of the other Pua. And he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then you shall kill him, but if it be a daughter, you shall save them alive. Now it's up to where the book is. But so I wanted to bring it all up where you can see what's happening. The children of Israel is multiplying. Pharaoh give the midwives an order, you kill all the boy babies. And then 17 said, but the midwives feared God, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the children, the men children alive. Well, they disobeyed the law of the land. And we fixed to come into some laws in the land that we're going to have to disobey, I think. Anybody? And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have you done this thing? And have saved the men children alive.
Hang on.
Okay?
Go back to that first part.
Yep. Midwives feared God.
Right. They feared God more than feared Pharaoh. And to me, that's the example, the type fear that we need to have today with God.
True.
We've got it right the opposite now. We fear man more than we fear God. And we trust man's ideas and man's ways more than we trust God. But see, if we had that fear of God like we're supposed to have, we would lean more under God's understanding than the man's understanding.
Right. We need to fear God more than man.
Right.
Man can destroy the body, but he can't destroy the soul. God can destroy those. But there's another little point right there that most of us overlook. How many of you have always heard in your life, don't mix religion and politics? Heard that? That's a worldwide lie.
I mean, if we was supposed to, in a way, I guess you say combine them, then they bring Jesus before politics.
Good. All right. What is politics? Now, in one Bible says politics, poly means many and ticks is bloodsucker. So politics is many bloodsucker. But now, your politics is what you believe. Your religion is what you believe. So right here, these midwives mix their religion and their politics. The politics of the land said, kill these boy babies. The midwife says, no, we fear God. Now, that didn't just come out and tell you, man. You see what I mean? And it's just the way the country, Lord, don't let me get too far in this. Y'all had enough of me already. The way this country's getting, you better put some religion in your politics. You better see who you voting for. And it's like Harold Spink told me several years ago, you don't vote for nobody no more, you vote against the one you don't want.
That's right.
So you better check them out.
You know, Ronnie, talking about the fearful heart,
Yeah,
in Isaiah,
yeah.
he was told to say to the fearful heart, yeah, be strong and fear not.
Yeah.
Because the one that lives in us is just waiting to bring to pass what our words are saying.
Mm-hmm.
When fear comes in, whether it be struggles or trials or sickness, whatever. You know, Jesus overcame them by his blood.
We need to fear the right things, man.
Right.
We don't fear, these midwives didn't fear. I'm sure they had a certain fear against Pharaoh, so they could cut their head off anytime they wanted to. But they feared God more than they feared. And I guess I can talk to most of us in here. If you don't know what fear is, step on a rattlesnake. You'll learn pretty quick.
Yeah, fearing the right things. We have to be careful that
Yeah.
anything we do, either way, is not prideful or arrogant.
No.
And that's where I hear a lot in churches today. And we've got to be careful. We don't do anything with pride and arrogance. Because God won't honor, even if it's right.
Yeah.
And we do it in the wrong way. As you said, how you talk to a child.
Yeah.
If we're not careful, Satan will twist things, and we think we're doing the right thing. But we're going against God. Someone mentioned the same thing you're talking about today. You go back to Jeremiah.
Yeah.
God told Jeremiah, my servant Nebuchadnezzar.
Uh-huh.
Wait a minute.
That
Do
was
we know what
bad.
Nebuchadnezzar was? What he did?
He
What his
burned
plan was?
Jerusalem down.
Why? Because of disobedience of Israel. So we got to look at what's going on in this world today. What's going on in this country?
Yeah.
And we always say we need to pray for this country. I'm telling you, we, right here today, every one of us has got to get obedient to God. He will heal this land if we do what He says do. It starts with me. We're looking and trying to straighten that no beyond out when I ain't straight.
That's right. That's a big problem today.
And God uses those things we see going around us because we ain't doing what He said do.
But Jeremiah said, Lord, Israel's got in bad shape, you need to punish them. God said, all right, I'll bring the Chaldeans down here and punish them. No, they're meaner than we are, don't bring them. But He did. And the United States is getting into shape right now. Lord forgive me. Didn't talk about politics, but I'm afraid that what's coming on us in this next election could be judgment against the United States for the church being quiet too long.
One thing I know, regardless of how all that comes about,
We already getting that.
and as many of these Israelites in this story we're reading about, there were many that still believed and trusted God, and God protected them. Through all this, as we said, the more Pharaoh persecuted the Israelites, the stronger and the more they multiplied. We look at the things like the midwives just disobeyed.
Yeah.
But God made a way for them to get through that. The 3 Hebrew children, Nebuchadnezzar threw in the flames.
Yeah.
I hear preached so many times they had arrogance and pride. But they
No, they
stood
didn't.
before that king and said, "Oh, king." And they showed honor.
Uh-huh.
They wouldn't bow. And we forget about that stuff. Daniel served Nebuchadnezzar.
Uh-huh.
Darius, look at all the kings. And he loved those men
Yeah.
that were all tyrants that persecuted Israelites. But when it came down to it, he says, any man speak against the God of these three, they'll be thrown into the fire.
You see them persecutions, and it's just personal for you today. Mickey, I know you've been persecuted a lot in your Christian life.
Now you've been dragged through the mud, stomped on, and everything else.
But every one of them made you stronger.
Yep.
You know what I thought about this last week one night? All of my enemies that's been persecuting me, thank you. Thank you for talking bad about me and dragging my name through the mud, like he said, lying on me. Thank you, because it's made me stronger. I didn't like it now. It ain't no fun when you go and do it. Don't you go putting on your pretty hat.
We better try them spirits, because every time somebody persecutes us, makes us mad, the devil will lay something there for us to get even.
And he'll wake you up at night and talk to you about it.
When you talk about us going through the persecution now, our kids are going through the persecution now.
Yeah.
This guy on the news, on one of the news channels, here went back to her talking about it. He looked it up, and the very year that the so-called God took out of the schools,
Yeah, 64.
there was 0 kids in schools.
Yeah, it's been took out on the kid. When I was in school, sister, the #1 problem was chewing gum in class. The #2 problem was running in the hall. And I got both of them. But I was a good kid. Wasn't I?
That's the biggest kid.
But the midwife, that what the Pharaoh said, and the midwife said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew children are not as the Egyptian women, but they are lively, and are delivered the midwives come in unto them. Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses, which meant their family was important in Israel. I don't believe it doesn't mean just a house out here, a dwelling place. I don't think, but now he made them, when you call it a house of Israel, you're talking about.
Okay, you look right here. All right. All this right here pertains to the firstborn of the Israelites.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. You look what's going on in the Middle East now. All right. They're trying to erase Israel. Pharaoh was trying to do the same thing here, but in a different way.
Different way, by taking all the, yeah.
Yeah. And he couldn't do it now. They'll not do it now over there. Because God's chosen people has got God's promise of protection.
He'll protect, you know, he has protected them.
So us being grafted in has
Yeah.
got that same promise of protection.
We got that same protection. But now don't forget, we talked about the Hebrew children. Most people don't know them Hebrew children were slaves. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they was carried out of their homeland over here in Israel, over here to Babylon. And they was actually slaves. Now they had good jobs as slaves, but they was actually slaves. But they feared God, and God protected them even in that hardship. Just like we talked about, he talked about some of the Israelites in Egypt. God protected them while they was out there, and they growed and made a great. First book of Ronnie now, so don't put this down. If they hadn't went to Egypt like they did and stayed over there 400 years, most likely Abraham's descendants would have got scattered, just like ours had. We got family in Arkansas and Texas and Michigan and wherever. You have too, probably all over. They got scattered. At one time, right around here, we was pretty. There's a bunch of our family around here. But most likely, this is the same Bible now, so don't go saying I said it was. If they hadn't went down into Egypt, God's got a long-range plan. And we need to get in his plan, so sometimes we don't get in. We won't even get in our plan. But if they hadn't went down there, they wouldn't have made this mighty nation with 2 or 3 million people. Okay? That's my opinion.
Not only that, that rigor,
Yeah.
that hard labor, that beatings and all that made them tough, strong, because the king says they're becoming mightier than we.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you put them out there and making them work hard, what's that going to do, you
Big
know?
football teams that don't ever exercise and work out, they ain't gonna get very strong.
Oh, Lord. So, the midwife done the thing that was right in God's eyes, not in man's eyes. And God bless him. 21, and it came to pass, because the midwife feared, 20, he made them houses. 22, and Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive.
Well, how do you keep your Israelites from multiplying?
Well,
Kill the man's eye.
yep.
Do away with the pure rights.
Yeah, the way with a pure race and they get, see, and that's what they want, that was what they was wanting to do, it's what, Lord, it's so amazing to me how history so much, well, they're trying to do away with a pure race today.
Yeah, they're trying to do away with yours.
Politics is, they don't want no black or white or brown, they want it, and that's the same thing they done back in them days. They didn't want it. I don't know. Exodus 2:11. Lord, I got time to, I don't know if I got time to read the first 10 verses, but I'm going to try to. Maybe it won't take too long. 2:1. And there went a man of the house of Levi and took to wife and daughter of Levi. There's an importance right there. You know that importance can tie to Jesus Christ? That little verse right there? Now how in the world can you tie that into Jesus Christ?
The lineage of Jesus Christ to John the Baptist and Mary.
All right, Jesus, go ahead.
Mary's aunt had to be a Levi, be married to a Levi.
That's right. So that meant Jesus Christ and Mary, his mother, was of the king tribe and of the priest tribe. Jesus Christ was the king and the priest. Remember? See how it ties together? Oh, if you haven't never read all your Bible, I feel sorry for you. Right there it tells you, that there starts. He was a Levite and he married a daughter of Levi, which is the priestly tribe. Am I telling the truth? They're looking at me funny thing.
I'll get that little cop sign.
And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she said, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and dubbed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid him in the flags by the brink of the river, and his sister stood afar off to wit what would happen, what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the river's side, and when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it, and when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept, and she had compassion on him, and said, this is one of the Hebrew children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call for thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child while I like this next verse? And Pharaoh's daughter said, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother, and Pharaoh's daughter said, mamas, listen, unto her, take this child and nurse it, and I will give thee wages. Does that ring a bell? Does that tell y'all anything? She got paid to nurse her own baby.
God works everything out all the time.
Ain't that something? God done turned that around then. And the woman took the child and nursed it, and the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, and said, because I drew him out of the water. Verse 11 in
You
the
know what's
book.
amazing?
Huh?
You know what's amazing there to me?
What's amazing?
He used Pharaoh's own household.
She got paid. Got to live in the big house, didn't
Yeah.
she? You know? Now this is a bad time for the Israelites. It's a bad, bad time. No telling how many of them baby boys was killed. Woo, getting into politics again, Adam. How many baby boys have been killed in the last 50 years through abortion?
That's right. Last year.
Don't get me started on
You know, does history repeat itself there? How many babies? You know what's bad about that in my sight? If you look at that greenback dollar and you paid taxes on it, you paid for part of them abortions your own self. No, I didn't. Yeah, you did. If you pay taxes, and we all pay taxes or went to jail. Get on the run. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, boy skipped a lot, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. You ain't hiding nothing. I ain't hiding nothing. You know, out of the biggest part of my life, I got caught in everything, even when I was a kid. Whatever I tried to do, I got caught. Still do. But Moses defended this Hebrew and killed this Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, two men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? You go try and tell somebody they done something wrong. Look out, look out, look out. And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known. Here again, we don't realize God's time frame a lot of times. And Moses goes down there, and he's probably ready right now to lead the children of Israel out. God done dealt with it. But it didn't happen that day, and it didn't happen in a few days. How long was it before he got back? 40 years. Now 40 years don't seem long to me and Frank, but I'll bet you 40 years to Thomas sounds like a long time. The whole time you're going in a circle, it is. Lord, Lord. 80 years later before they got to go into the promised land. Now Pharaoh heard this thing and saw, and y'all forgive me. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. Lord, I wish I looked that up. And he sat down by a well. Who is Midian? Oh, Bible readers, there's a person named Midian.
One of Abraham's descendants.
One of Abraham's son by his second wife, third wife, Keturah. After Sarah died, Abraham married again, 110 years old. And he had several children. I didn't know how many. I could look it up if you want me to. Several children by Keturah, that's the right name? Y'all remember? And Midian was the name of one of them sons, and he moved over here, and they named the land after Midian, the Midianite. And in order to give you a little bit of a hint when it calls him a Midianite priest. Now there's one thing that I never did catch on that right there, and it might be in chapter 3. It is. Can I read that before I finish this? I got 8 minutes. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law. That's Exodus 3:1. The priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the backside of the desert and camped to the mountains of God, even to Horeb. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in the flame of fire out of the midst of the bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moses said, I will turn again to see this great sight wherein the bush is not burnt. Now remember his name there was Jethro. Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, in chapter 2 and 18, which is not in the lesson, all right, I'm going to start with 15. I'm going to go down all the way through that. Remember the name there, Jethro. Okay, that's no Moses' father-in-law. This confuses me. Now, when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dreaded to land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Now, the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to rule their father, what was that name?
Jethro.
Huh?
The Jethro is like a title, not a name.
Uh-huh. I didn't know that. See, he called him Rule here, and he called him Jethro over there. What? He said that was a title.
He had 2 names. I don't know.
Huh?
He could have had 2 names.
Do that.
Timothy Edward, nobody knows Edward.
Yeah.
Now,
Nobody knows Anthony neither.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all know his name is Anthony instead of Pink?
You know what Anthony means?
Huh?
I know it.
I believe Pinky is anointed now, I really do. But see, sometimes I catch things, and I wonder how many times I read over that and didn't see it. They called Rule over here and Jethro over there. Their father said, "How that year comes to them?" They said, "An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us, and watered the flock."
It's like the name Pharaoh.
Yeah, that's
That's
title.
that's a title. And on over into for the
Caesars and stuff like
yeah
that.
Caesars and a lot of other places in the Bible. It's the titles that you're using.
But Herod at one time was a title instead of a name, and it was there's 3 Herods that they know of. But Herod became a title according to history, not according to the Bible. And they couldn't find the name of Herod, the one that the worms eat. They couldn't find no evidence of him until about 2000, might have been the late 80s. They found a rock at Caesarea with his name and title on it. Anyway, let's see where they get to. And he said to his daughters, "And where is he? Why is it that ye have left the man? Call him that he may eat bread." Boy got 7 daughters. He's trying to get rid of one of them. And Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses Zipporah his daughter. And she bare him a son, and he called his name Gershom. It's a stranger in a strange land, for he said, "I have been a stranger in a strange land." And that's what Gershom meant. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto God by reason of the bondage. And God heard their groanings, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them.
Wasn't Moses' wife, did she have another name later in the same chapter?
Yeah, that's what. It's reading, he's reading.
And it's the same wife.
Same person, but
And we get confused because many others, like you said, Abraham had other wives. Jacob had other wives. But Moses has this one wife.
and this is Ronnieology now. We're handicapped knowing one verse, one language. We only know English, most of us. Some of y'all might know something. But we only know English. And we can use the same word in English. If I say red, what do I mean? Huh? I either read the book, or it's red, or, you know, and in other languages, rule, and then interpreted them languages. And these people done a good job in the King James Version interpreting these languages. But in the interpretation, and by this was in Exodus, it was probably written in Hebrew, what we'd call Paleo Hebrew. at that time. So when they interpreted this in 1611, like,
Original 16.
anyway, they done the best they could. They done a good job, and I'll not argue with it, not even a word or a letter in that King James Version. But he did give us a brain between our ears. Now they, in Hebrew, Rule and Jethro might be the same word. You know? I don't know. I can't speak Hebrew. If any of y'all can, help me out. But,
And now, since there's no original Hebrew language out there supposedly, how do we know if we find something that's in Hebrew if it was exactly? Because
Well-
we know our adversary the devil goes to and fro seeking what he can divide. What? It says who, and he uses what in order to get to who. And he's changed a lot of things. Look at all the different versions of the Bible we have today. And they say, well, this is a better version, this is a better. King James, from what we were taught back when I was doing Bibles, vacation Bible schools and church camps and stuff growing up, they did seminars with us.
yeah.
And they, back at that time, they just found the Dead Sea Scrolls. And they did a big thing, and they said, the King James Bible, this is the Baptist church, the King James Bible is the most accurate interpretation of what the Dead Sea Scrolls means. The words are identical. The words that could not be interpreted were made new or left the way they were.
Yeah.
The King James didn't come up and say, well, it means this. They made a word like baptism.
Yeah.
There was no word that meant what baptism means. So it's baptismo. So they used the same word, just made it a little easier to say. Many words, you see italicized words in the King James Bible, they were added because there's a little tail on the Hebrew word
Yeah.
that is like a "the," or that makes it word mean
Accent.
something else. Yeah, and
Just
so
an
you've
accent.
got to put that in there to make it fit English language. The way they pronounce a word in Hebrew changed its meaning. So you've got to add that little part. It's not actually added, it was in the word.
Yeah.
But if you didn't know that part of that Hebrew, you wouldn't add that. You would miss what it meant.
The history I read on King James Heavenly Bible, there were less than 50 Bibles in the world. King Henry VIII destroyed all the Bibles that he could find. King James come in and put it in printed in the English language. And he had monks that, several different monks out of this monastery. And these 4 or 5 would take the same page and go in separate rooms. And they would write translate it. And when they come back in, if all 4 or 5 of them didn't have the same number of letters in it, they had to go back and do it again.
Well, not only that, I was taught that King James, there were hundreds of scribes, tens over tens.
Yeah.
And if one scribe made a mistake, he was beheaded.
No.
If he mistranslated, see, that's why, people say, well, how can you believe a man like King James? He was a bisexual. He was a tyrant. Well, we go back to my surgeon, it took someone with that kind of heart to do what God had in mind to do. And it took King James to have no thought, no consideration for the previous ones to make sure that word was posted in God's way. And so they don't do that today. Well, if you don't believe that word is what it means, you don't ever rewrite it like you want.
What killed me, the educated people that I work with, told me they wanted the king, didn't want the King James. Now I'm talking about educated people because they couldn't understand the these and the thous in the King James.
The Anglo-Saxon.
You went to college 4 years and you don't know what these mean?
The Anglo-Saxon English was the simplest language there was. Had less complicated terms, and that's why we don't like it. You can't explain things away because it means what it means.
Well, that's the thing. Let me get this thinking and I'll sit down. Anybody remember Barry Bryant? Barry Bryant. Barry who?
Yeah.
They said when he come, started being the coach, he would say now, this is a football. It's made out of a pigskin. You throw it, you kick it, you catch it, you run it. Now I'm gonna tell you this. This is a Bible. If you want to go to heaven, you do what this Bible says. Not what Ronnie says. Not what Pinky says. And Pinky tells you the truth. But you do what this Bible says. And to do what it says, you need to read it.
You know, I just thought of something else you said that I heard in an interview with one of the sportscasters. He asked him, who's going to be on your first string team? Barry Bryant says, I don't have a first string. If you can't play first string on my team, you're not on my team. That's what he told me. Now, what did Jesus tell the disciples? Well, who shall be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?
Sure, no,
Worship comes through that.
He says there are no greatest. He said the least shall be the greatest.
Look here.
You know, here we are today at the church, wants to build up one person above another. Love or power. But when it comes down to who and what he is, he knows what
You know what Pinky told me
And I know he believes that. You know.
several times after church, you know what he told me? He preached his heart out, done a wonderful job, but I get back there and he said, I failed. You know what I told him?
He told him, if you want to be first, then you better go back to the end line.
I told Pinky, when you think you're doing a good job at preaching, it's time to quit. Because it ain't you. He's told me several times. I messed that up. You ever feel like that? Which brother Nicholas is here? He did. So y'all forgive me. Anybody else, anything else to say? Okay.
You know, in school we got classes, we got passage class, we got textbooks that we got to go on. If we don't study that textbook, we don't pass that test. We look at the Bible.
Yeah.
The Bible is a textbook. And you're going to have a test. So are you going to pass that test or are you not? The Bible leads you to heaven, and heaven is the Bible is going to get you to heaven. By doing what that Bible says, that book says, read it, live it, and in heaven you'll pass the test.
Amen.
Let me add to that, Charlotte. The world's trying to do away with textbooks.
Yeah,
They want to put it all on computers.
that's right. Change.
Not everybody's got access.
Yeah.
So if you got textbooks, you better hold on to them.
Thy word, O Lord, about his that I might know.
What are you doing there? Now you talking about them tests. Y'all know why I don't like Noah Webster? There wasn't no spelling test before Noah Webster. They just spelled it the way it sounded. But I never did like spelling way. Still don't. I still misspell them words. But thing is, how did I learn my spelling words? Just look at it one time and say it.
And go over and over and over again.
How you gonna learn this word here?
Go over and over.
You better read it several different times. Start to finish. I better go. Pinky, here.